Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paradox Untold Stories from Athletic Directors. We are here today with Michael Banning. How are you today, Michael?
Doing great.
Great. We are excited. We, meaning myself, I'm Dr. Danielle LaPointe, and my co host is Dr. Dustin Smith. And we are very excited to have you on today. Thank you for being here, and a big thank you to Ticket Spigot, who is our sponsor for all of our episodes and the official NIAAA ticketing partner. So, Dustin, we just came back from the conference. So, how are you doing? You guys all got home okay?
Yeah, everything was good, man. I'm pumped today because we're back in the natural state. We're back with a friend of mine, a guy that's just down the road.
Mhm.
Not only is it home for me, but Arkansas is home for him. And we've got, we obviously connected again while we were at the conference, but I've spent a lot of time with Michael, been in that very office that you see on Zoom right now, hung out with him there as he took his CAA exam not too long ago and got that. So I'm excited because I remember the story that Michael's going to tell. I remember when it happened because I was texting Michael not too long after that. Me and about everybody else in the country, I think, just because of the sheer shock. That's called a tease. I'll leave it at that, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But what I want to do is, Michael, I want to talk to you a little bit about what the resume doesn't tell us about who Michael Banning is. So, what do you like to do outside of being an athletic administrator? I know you are fond of hockey matches. At least you went to a hockey match recently. I know your wife and you spend some quality time together. But what makes Michael Banning outside of being an athletic administrator?
Well, I want to thank you for you guys for having me on today and sharing the story that took place in 2019. But Michael Banning is someone who has three daughters, a beautiful wife, someone that was my high school sweetheart. Just love spending time with family. Um, Big baseball card, memorabilia type of guy. So now that my wife and I have an empty nest and she's reading the book and watching TV. I spend a lot of time with my memorabilia and my cards and things like that. But just a big family man. Love spending time with family. Love taking trips. You mentioned the old hockey game. I did get to take in a Predators game there in Nashville when I was at the convention, and my wife and I have grown fond to the hockey matches. I don't know, I couldn't play hockey, can't even skate, but I enjoy the old hockey matches. There's no doubt. We took in the Titan game, and you know, just enjoyed time with my wife at the convention, no doubt.
And you also let us crash some of those parties with your wife,
Yeah,
the get-togethers that we would have. Just we'll call it social time.
yeah.
That we had some time after the sessions and after the workshops and whatnot. But like I said, I'm excited that you're on here because we got to. We get to showcase Arkansas, but before we get too far into your story, Michael, let's paint on a map where Clarksville is so people will know Clarksville, Arkansas, and what that really looks like. There's a rumor that in order to be a real town in Arkansas, your town has to end with Ville or you have to have a Walmart in your town to be a legit town in Arkansas, which you qualify as both.
We get both of those. We check both of those boxes there. We're on Interstate 40, halfway between really Little Rock and Fort Smith. You'll catch us off of exit 55, 57 right there. You're traveling down Interstate 40 on a Friday night to home match. You're going to see our field right on Interstate. We got a unique situation where our field really butts up to the interstate. So very loud on Friday nights in the stands, and it's also loud with the interstate truckers going down the road. We'll get a dozen or so horns sounded from the old big truckers as they're coming down the road. And just your unique situation right on Interstate 40, exit between exit 55 and 57. So if you're ever Friday night, stop in and watch the Panthers play a little ball.
And it's funny that you bring up that stadium because we're going to talk about that stadium and just just your event that occurred there and just how things changed drastically for you in 2019. And we'll dive into that here in just a second. But what I want to do is kind of set the scene.
Wait.
Clarksville.
Before you get into that, though, Dustin, I feel like you're skimming over something very important that we need to speak about. What happened at the conference? Do you have any announcements to make? Did anything fun and exciting happen to you at the conference, Dustin?
Happened to me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, I don't know if fun's the word.
Stressful.
New and exciting, maybe I should say.
I got for some reason got elected to the NIAAA board, if that's what you're referring to.
It is absolutely what I'm referring to. I want to say congratulations. This is the first episode that we've recorded since we have come back from the conference, and the first episode, obviously, since Dustin is in one and is in his new position. So huge congratulations to you. I'm very proud of all of the work you put in for it, and you deserve everything that you have, except I really just don't want you to mess this up for all of us. So please do a really good job.
Just one comment on that. I'm in the board meeting on Wednesday morning, and they do what they call around the table, and people go around and talk about people. And one of our previous guests, Xavier, who is from Las Vegas, he came to me and he said, Dustin started that podcast. We all know he started the podcast so people would know his name so he could run for the at-large position. So that was the accusation, that I started the podcast simply for campaigning so that we could get me elected to the NIAAA board.
It worked.
It worked.
Completely unfounded, but it was sheer coincidence. But anyway, this isn't about me. This is about Michael Banning and Michael Banning's story, and we get to talk about all the fun.
Absolutely. I don't know if I call his fun. Yours is way more fun than his, but I don't think he minds giving us a minute of his time to congratulate you on this awesome achievement. So, and this is the only time I'm going to be like publicly really nice and proud of you. So just take it in. Don't push it to the side.
I'm just going to let that marinate for a second. I'm just going to kind of absorb that for a little bit. How those words taste coming out of your mouth there, Danielle?
It's not happening again. So just take it. Right. Okay. So thank you, Michael, for that. I just wanted to get that out there and congratulate him I don't want to jump into the story. It probably will be it won't be an appropriate thing to talk about after the story, because I don't want to say, I wasn't fortunate enough, but I heard about this story while we were in the conference, which is why I wanted to get him on as soon as we could, because it is a doozy.
How you like that intro, Michael?
That's quite an intro there, no doubt.
So, Michael, let's paint the scene. Let's talk about what happened in 2019 and what led up to really your story. So let's just dive into that, and you just kind of narrate us and talk us through what the events that took place that day.
Well, it's on March 9th, 2019. We had a soccer tournament at our facility there that we were talking about right off Interstate. Also, we had a softball tournament going on, which our softball field is adjacent kind of to our school. We're all centrally located all together right there. So we had a softball tournament going on. We had a soccer tournament going on. A lot of people at both venues. The stands were full, and a very windy day. I'll just preface that by saying very windy, probably upwards to 40 miles an hour or something like that. So we had a very windy day going on, and we have wooden posts at our facility at our football field at the time, and I was taking in the softball game. I was in my golf cart. We were up at the softball field taking it in, and I need to go back to tell you though, before all that took place, I was very concerned about the wind and the posts, because I could tell that the posts were moving a little bit. And I remember my assistant superintendent's there, and we were looking at the posts, and you could see the posts moving. There was no doubt that we were concerned and looking, but never thought that what was going to take place took place. I'm at the softball field. It's probably around, I'd probably say 249, 248 actually, and I hear a crack, and the crack was very distinct and loud, and I'm probably 500 yards, maybe, probably a quarter of a mile away, but I hear this big crack, and I turn to look at the football field, and immediately I hear the crack, and I see fans uh, just moving quickly out of the bleachers. Well, being trained around our school with ERT and just active shooter, first thing that come to my mind was that we have an active shooter in the stadium because the crack, the sound, people dispersing from the stands, and there's a lot of screaming and holler going on. And so I immediately get in my golf cart, I travel down the hill, and as you're traveling down the hill in the golf cart, you really don't know what you're going to get because I couldn't really tell what was going on. We entered the stadium, and still at that time, I didn't see the light pole had fallen on the what would be the south end of our stadium toward the interstate, and south what would be the southwest side. And so I come into the stadium, I see people dispersing out. I immediately asked someone what's going on. They told me the foul pole or the light pole had fallen, and so then I start gravitating to that area. While when I was getting there, I see a student athlete from the opposing team on being brought over to the bench. I asked what was going on. Scrap metal from the pole had uh, uh, got into his knee, his leg, shin area, kind of his thigh, upper thigh. Made sure he was okay. But then as I was continuing to move, I've got report that we had a student down from the pole. Now, let me tell you, when you hear that and you see the pole down,
So
you know,
let me like paint this because you're saying the pole is down, but the pole fell which way? Towards the bleachers, towards the interstate? Which way did the pole fall?
well, that's a great point, Danielle, because we had a corner kick going on at the same location that the pole's going to fall. So all of our student athletes, our officials, everybody was pinned in the corner at the same location that this pole falls and hits the ground. And so when I get over there, we already had personnel on there, and just reading from my notes that I took, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, it was hard for me to when I clipped and sent the photo to you from YouTube, which you can go on YouTube and see it broadcast from several different broadcasting stations throughout the United States and international. Very big scene. But soccer tournament at Matheny Field on Saturday, March 9, 2019, we had two schools that were close to our area. It was in the second half. At 2:49, the pole blows down on the south west side of the end of the field. Our official, who was also an all-state soccer player for us, had
But not that year, right? He wasn't an all-state player that year, correct?
no, sorry.
Okay.
He was an all-state soccer player prior to, and so he was reffing the game, and it was also a U of O student here playing soccer. So it was a collegiate soccer player, very good player for us, and he was the official who was pinned to the ground by the Pope. And I'll get back to that here in just a little bit. And then there was two other students from from one team that was at the end of the pole where the light fixtures, when it came down, uh, clipped one of the players. And in the video, you'll see him flipping backwards. And then the other player just escaped injury. But the one that got knocked backwards by the pole had some debris and glass that required, I believe, 7 stitches once they got him to the hospital. The other student athlete did not go to the hospital, but the one who did get the debris and the glass, he had to go and get 7 stitches. Here's the big thing about this. This incident happened at 2:49. We had a bicycle patrolman at the facility at the game. He had his radio. We had another personnel that was there watching the game that was able to get in contact with authorities as well. We ended up having, I want to say, probably 3 or 4 at the stadium, and we had a total of 7 within 2 minutes. So 2:49, the situation happens. The PD was notified by the EMS at 2:49. At 2:56, the EMS services arrive on the scene. Prior to that, my EMT, who acts as a sideline helper, if you will, was in the press box. He heard what took place. He's down administering first aid to our official almost within 30 seconds. So we're very fortunate that we had people there at the facility. I mean, it was just, it was tremendous to have that many people there to be able to go to work, get the proper people notified, and get our people there to help out. So it's and well, I think we had 7 officials that were on site there, 2 ground officials. Uh, the chief of police was watching his daughter play softball. He made it down. I had admin that had assistant superintendent there within a minute or two. My principal was there within a minute or two. And that was very important because, as I mentioned earlier, these people, when we first saw this, there was a lot of confusion. People at the game did see the pole fall, but there was also people seeing people scattered as if there was an active shooter. So we were able to get people stationed at all of our exits and we announced immediately the game was canceled, and we were able to get people at the exits and really notify them and update them with information that was needed at the time. Um,
Now you're
electric comp.
I was like,
Go ahead.
you're using very calming words during the story, which I appreciate because I've seen the video. So I know how insanely awful this is. We do have the video. We're going to share it. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or I encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel to watch the video. But you're using calming words like you traveled on your golf cart. People were dispersing. No, you raced there on your golf cart. People were running and screaming. And you said it fell on the field. It slammed on the field onto people. Like, you are using nice calming words, which I appreciate, but the reality of when you see the video, it's so I think I audibly gasped when I first saw the video. It is terrifying and awful, and I
It's gut
appreciate it.
wrenching. It's gut
Yes,
wrenching
it
because
is. It
as you
is.
watch the video, I know who's underneath the pole. I know those 2 student athletes. I know the coaches. I know the personnel that's there. And yes, in the situation to where I'm in the golf cart, I'm flying. And when I get down there, uh, I can't tell you the anticipation of me going over to the pole and seeing the young man already over there underneath the pole, what I am going to see. I don't know what I'm going to see. I know who the official is. He is a great young man. I know his future. I know that he was wanting to be a soccer player, wanting to be, and not know whether he was dead, tremendously injured by the pole, or when I get over there, it ends up being it's down to a broken leg, and it's just amazing. And when you watch this incident take place here in just a little bit, you're going to be amazed because what you don't see is a young man from the other team who grabs the soccer ball and takes 3 steps out of the shadow of the pole that's fixing to fall. I later found out that that individual missed several days of school because after watching that was just tremendously disturbed by, life and death in 3 steps. Our official is life and death in about 4 inches. He turns around, faces a pole. If he continues to walk in the same line he's walking, he is dead. And so,
And there was
yes,
no warning. There was no warning.
no warning. I mean, it's a crack boom. I mean, you can see it's a crack and it's a boom. Um, so
Let's show the video right now. Let's take the minute to show the video. And I do want to warn anyone, like, it is upsetting. It is an upsetting video to watch.
it's very upsetting. There's no doubt about that.
So
But it
yeah.
is real, and it's something that we can learn from. So you can see we're in a corner of the end zone. Um, you can see what all's taking place there. The individual's fixing to pick up a soccer ball. We got
Yeah, over
2
here.
individuals fixing to have a
Yep.
corner kick there, or actually a side kick that's in the same area.
Okay, here we
Stop
go.
rolling.
Oh, I mean, it happened so fast. You can see the student you're talking about rolling away, the official.
Dustin, are you able to view this?
No, I can't see it.
I can't see it either.
You guys can't see it.
Nope.
No.
But you hear Danielle's reaction to this.
Yes.
I'm
There we
not
go.
sure. Can
I
you
mean,
see it now?
there
I've
you can
got-
see the pole down.
Okay, hold on. Let me retry this thing, guys. Sorry. Okay, let's try this again. Can you see it that time?
Yeah.
We got it.
Michael
I-
doesn't need to have to see it again. I mean,
Oh, when I first watched this just the other day to just gather my senses and notes about it, it's amazing that we have not more injuries than what we had.
It's incredible. You're right. You're all right here. The ball, the official. I mean, it happens so fast. Even in this video, when I expect it to be coming, it happens so fast. And it's just, oh,
You can see it knocks the individual back there. It flips him back. I mean, we're talking inches away from death from a lot of these individuals. But it's and when you go through something like this, you have the initial shock of, hey, a pole just fell, something just happened, people are dispersing out of the stands. You get there, you see all this take place, and then you have to start dealing with, hey, trying to get people out of the stadium, because you don't know. We have 5 other poles at the stadium. We have 5 other poles at the stadium. One that's over our press box that would have, if it had fallen, it's going to fall into
like a
the
tumble.
bleachers. It would have been into the main bleachers. Then you have one down the concession stand on both sides. But with all that being said, we had the electric company there at 3:09. Now take 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 notice that this all started at 2:49. We had the EMS there at 2:56. We had the electric company there on the scene at 3:09 because we didn't know what we had with the electricity issues with the pole. And at 4:05, they were able to disconnect the wires on the pole. We started taking the area and making sure we had it all locked down where nobody could get into the situation because of other poles falling and with electricity. First news reporter was there at 4:39, and the facility was closed to the public at 5:30 with signs and gates all locked. And we ended up having to field questions for probably the first 30 minutes, and then superintendent and I gathered a central spokesperson for the incident where one story was coming out, and we did have multiple stories coming out. We wanted to make sure that we had as much information, the truth information, come out, and be mindful of the individuals that was at hand.
So no other poles fell. Just this one.
No, ma'am.
I mean, no other poles needed to fall.
I know, but I'm
no,
just making sure.
No other poles fallen. I will tell you this: we had the rest of the 5 poles down early that next week, so we took all the poles down on the stadium. And just looking here at my notes, we had an admin meeting on Monday discussing removing the poles, checking existing poles on the campus. So when this took place, we had to start going and checking all the poles we had at different venues, from being around our elementary schools to our junior high schools, middle schools, and then also our other athletic facilities as well. And so we were checking the poles. We had to get the turf cleaned up. Field turf came in, did a great job and cleaned up the turf area. And you can't even, I mean, you couldn't even really tell because I'm going to tell you the glass that was embedded in that turf, the metal, the indention that the pole made, caused a lot of problem there. And then it all ended up that, well, before I get to Musco coming in and taking care of us, we had TV stations right and left on. We had all over the state of Arkansas was there to film to get basically what took place. And then we had national news and international news. We had people from Mexico City calling us and wanting footage and things like that of the pole.
Now it was a wood pole, right?
Yes, it was.
Did it crack? Did it become like the I guess where the footing wherever it was in, did that become undone? Like what was the
The,
actual reason that it
the
fell?
weight of the pole and the wind speed, uh, the bottom of the pole cracked is what eventually took place. The wind speeds, which was upwards to 40 to 45, and then the pole cracking at the bottom. It was just too much weight because of the old light system. I mean, that is in a lot of schools that's listening today, a lot of schools around the nation, they still have the wooden poles. And we still have wooden poles right now on our baseball field. And we had them cored out. I believe they go in and go into the pole core, and they tell the strength of the pole by that. And we are working on getting Musco in here to uh, kind of help us with our baseball facility as well in the next year or two. So, but on August the 6th of 2019, we had new poles installed at our facility. LED, really nice light poles.
So, Michael, let me ask you this question: when you arrived on scene and got to see or talk to the referee that was trapped underneath the pole, was he still trapped when you got there? And what was that conversation like?
When I rolled up to the pole that was on the ground, the individual who was taking the first responder who was taking care of him at that moment, I looked at him and I said, "Are we okay?" And Chris turned around, looked at me, and said, "Looks like a broken leg. We're very fortunate." And the official was still conscious. I mean, he was conscious. He had everything. I mean, he was focused. He was a little dazed from what took place. I mean, as you watch the video, he takes a step, turns around. Here's the crack, and his ability to turn around. I guess for that split second, I don't know if he gets a complete turn, but that 4 to 6 inches saved his life. And basically, he had a broken leg, lower leg.
I
I mean,
mean,
you
we
think about and living in Arkansas, I know wind is not uncommon. I mean, we have wind, and this wasn't the first time that we've experienced 40 to 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But for all of it to come together at that time, when you have a soccer match going on in a tournament, people are there. I mean, just think about the odds of that, all that coming together, because that could have been in the middle of the night. It could have been during a thunderstorm when you weren't playing, but this was a sunny day. I mean, you see the sun, and all of a sudden, here comes the pole. So it was, I mean, it's nothing that you could have prepared for, knowing this was going to be, all this was going to culminate into this scene that you got to experience.
No doubt. And I mean, you could say a side throw in from a lot of different places on the field,
Mhm.
or a corner kick from either place on the field. But we're at that certain spot to where a young man from a school right down the road picks up the ball, walks out of the shadow of the pole. The official standing right in line with the pole, and two student athletes who, if you'll look out there at the light fixtures, you know, are just minutes away from death. And we're very fortunate. The Lord was looking upon us on that day, and then the way everything transpired from 2:49, and we was able to have personnel on the field immediately, have admin to do crowd control, was really we were very fortunate.
Danielle speechless, which is rare. I mean, you have shut up Danielle LaPointe. That's a task,
Well,
Michael
you
Manning.
keep
You should be
watching.
applauded for that.
You you keep watching that phone call, and you're just going to you're going to ask a lot of questions, and getting back to facility wise, there was those posts were of age, but not of age to where, I mean, I would imagine there's light poles out there in schools today that are older than that pole that we had right there. So the story here is that go check your light poles.
Because these aren't that busy. So go add that to your list. Go check your light bulbs. We would add here in Florida. I would check my scoreboards. We live, close to the water, to the ocean, and we check the scoreboards because when the water would settle, sometimes they would get eroded quickly because of salt in the air here. So that was something I did. I was worried about my scoreboards. I never thought about my light poles in the same fashion. Periodically checking them, and I just feel like you gave me and a whole bunch of people maybe a complex to go check your light bulbs.
Please do.
But but
Please do.
we ask for crazy stories, Dustin. That's our premise, right? Like, bring us your craziest stories. We want to hear it. We want to grow through other people's experiences. And my goodness, you've delivered. You have
Uh,
delivered.
my question is, how about the health of the young man? I mean, that was trapped. What was his recovery? Was he okay? And you said he wanted to be a soccer player. Did he get to pursue that goal, or was he injured beyond that where he couldn't compete?
Well, naturally, he was, he broke his lower leg and extremity there. Put some pins in, plates in. Had to go through extensive rehab, but he was able to get back out on the field and be a participant for our local soccer team here, University of the Ozarks. He did get a lifetime pass. That was
That's
anytime.
kind of you, Michael.
Anytime he wants to come to the stadium, he is more than welcome. And any of our facilities, he's welcome in.
So you gave him
Uh,
a free pass to the scene of the crime.
we gave him a lifetime pass for anything he wants to come to. So and I give him a hug every time I see him, and we have a great conversation. And he has a great heart, and worked extremely hard to get back on the field.
I mean, kudos to him for being able to overcome obviously that and the traumatic experience that would have been. But now he's got a permanent reminder of people sacrifice a lot of things for our sports. We say that all the time, blood, sweat, and tears. But he had literal blood and
Yes, he
probably
did.
some tears as well from a pole. And he's got a permanent reminder of his time at Clarksville High.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And you think about those other three individuals. We spoke about the one that walked out of the shadow of the pole. Like I said, I believe he spent 2 or 3 days out of school, but just because of the traumatic thought of, hey, he's in line of that pole. And then those other two individuals that were affected by the glass and the metal that was flying from the pole, and all those that were there to see that take place, and just to think that, hey, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, and you're 4 inches from death right there. Enjoy today.
What'd you do with the softball game? Did you cancel it as well?
No, the softball game went on because really the people, they knew what took place. Now I will tell you this: they started moving their chairs and where they're sitting away from the poles that were up there. You know, we laugh about it now, but they did move themselves, and we were very attentive to those poles, but we were able to get that game over with, and we were able to continue the softball game.
I just
I
think
mean, the
about
amount of panic you had to experience as the AD. I mean, just knowing. I mean, you heading down that hill, not knowing what you were going into. Um, and I'm not making a light of what first responders do. They run in while everybody else is running out. And I think we heard that at the national convention. Somebody said those guys are the first ones in. They're running in when everybody else is running away. And you were driving into that scene, not knowing what you were going to experience or going to find. And fortunately, on this side of things worked out I mean, extremely well compared to what it could have happened. But you drove it right into that and not knowing exactly what was going on, especially on the chaos that surrounds that. You'd like to think people were leaving in an orderly fashion, but I'm assuming they were just kind of scattering and getting the heck out of there.
They were flying out of the bleachers. There's no doubt about it. And I was very fortunate to have a lot of help. I will tell you that, because when I came down the hill, it wasn't that I was a lone soldier. I come down that hill, and when I got entered the stadium, Danielle was talking about. I was. There's no doubt that I was frazzled, trying to stay cool and calm and collective as much as I could, but trying to find out as much information as I possibly could to get over to the pole, and I noticed that my EMT personnel were over there, so I know it was being taken care of. But just trying to find out the information and get that out there to the other people as quick as I possibly could.
This whole thing is just like, it's literally a nightmare. This is an AD nightmare. And I'm hoping that this creates some awareness for maybe other people to go out and not only check their polls, but also make sure you have a good response plan in place, because you've highlighted that how your response time of this was bar none. It was perfect. It was up there. So that's a really important feature here. You're fortunate that you had other people on campus and that you had other people to help you. But this is just an awful situation that could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. And I'm so happy that nobody was more seriously injured than they were.
And not only did you have great response, but you're able to detail what happened. You were able to, I mean, you've got notes, and you sent me the notes so I could see
Mhm.
exactly time frame what took place. And for you to be able to have the cognitive mind to be able to make note of that and to know, hey, we had this person here then, this person here then, just the amount of notes that we're not sharing with the people, but you kind of went through that, but you had to refresh. I mean, that's 2019. There's a lot that's happened since 2019. I mean, we had the world shut down for a while with
Mhm.
COVID, and that was after this event. So, just the amount of detail that you were able to put together because of this, and the amount of response that you have. I mean, kudos to you and your staff for being able to piece this together the best that you possibly can and react.
Well, Dustin, I think it's very important, and I go back and I look at this. I think it's very important because I was still a young AD. I mean, I've been in it 9 years right now. Um, but I think it's important to understand the emergency action plans. And I think it's very important that you go to conferences and go to meetings, and, you go to the national conference, just like we got back from just last week, that when you go into these meetings, there are meetings that really maybe don't go this extensive into a light pole falling, but they go into having a plan and going over that plan, you know, monthly or twice a year, but understanding that things are going to happen, and when they happen, uh, be able to process that as you maneuver through your situation.
And my last thought is all of the people who were in the stadium, whether they were playing in the field or they were a fan, a spectator, that had to be a little bit jarring for them as well. Like, now they've had this experience in their life. So every time that they're in a stadium, like, this is going to be in the back of their head that this could happen. And that could be, an experience changing for them as well. So this is just an overall nightmare situation. And you guys handled it the best you absolutely could have. And I just hope this is like the last time we hear about poles falling. I don't want to hear about any more
Well,
poles falling.
unfortunately, it wasn't the last time in Arkansas. I mean, there was another one in one of your favorite towns, Danielle, Gravett. They just put up a new. They were building a new stadium, and their light pole fell down because of the wind. So and it wasn't a wooden pole; it was a metal pole that snapped, and
The same
well,
thing,
I
did it
say
crack on
snapped.
the
It
bottom?
fell.
Yeah, did it crack on the bottom, the same thing?
It sure did. It sure did, and
Whew.
there was no activity, I believe, going on at that site. But Dustin, if you'll go back also, I don't know if it was after that as well, or if it was sometime prior. But at a track meet, there was a pole that fell, and I don't really know the school. It was kind of maybe in the South Central, fell on cars in a parking lot. So there you get that time of the year and the wind starts blowing, and in a lot of these different areas across the nation, there's places where the wind can really get going, and I will tell you this: when after this happened, people entering stadiums would tell me they were very cautious about sitting by poles or knowing their location, and so it did make them aware of that. I had several schools calling me and asking about the situation and telling them that they immediately went and checked their poles that Monday when they go back to school.
Well,
But I mean,
we
would you
always like to
even have
talk about takeaways, and obviously those are things that you can do now.
yeah.
And it's not that you didn't do it prior to that. It's just that, I mean, it was a whole bunch of things that happened. So, man, Michael, I want to tell you thank you for jumping on here and reliving this horror story that you dealt
Mhm.
with. And we generally like to laugh, and there's not a whole lot to laugh about in this situation. But you lived through a story, and the good thing is, on the other side of that, there was nobody killed and nobody permanent. I mean, permanently injured, I guess is the word.
Mentally,
But
maybe
I mean,
mentally.
he has a reminder, obviously, in a lifetime past. But kudos to you and your staff for being able to handle this as well as you did.
And thank you very much. I appreciate sharing my story, and I just hope that people go out and basically look at their facility, and as Danielle mentioned, scoreboards. I mean, the wind could blow the scoreboard over as well, and just things that are out there around your facility that just make sure you check um, and make sure that the accreditation of what's out there is good.
Yeah. No, I thank you so much because like Dustin said, you're telling your horror story over, which I know probably isn't an easy thing to relive, but I think it's an important one to get out there. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, that's one that we just need to bring some sort of shed some light to, so it doesn't happen anywhere else. And I'm not even saying that you can check your poles. I mean, it was a wood pole, right? So like you might have checked it and not seen anything. You're not going to know it's going to crack. So it's definitely that emergency plan is something that I think that we can't stress enough of how important it is. So, but thank you very much for sharing your story with us and everyone to grow from it. And I'm so glad everybody's okay. So thank you, Michael Banning, and also thank you to Ticket Spigot for being our sponsor and making all of these episodes possible. We'll be back next week with another episode.